We live in a time where people are so scared of doing a leap of faith. So when you want to do it, they will come and say, oh, don't do that. Did you think of this? Did you think of your daughter? That's what people were saying that to me. When I did this project in between North and South Korea on the DMZ, when I found this poem from this North Korean poet who passed away before the separation, and when I told those people of South Korea that I used this poetry, they're like, wow, so how did you find this? And I'm like, actually, that's the joy of it.
It's a powerful example of building human connections,
Yeah.
but also the power of art in giving access to the community.
I always say that I'm a collector of moments, and that's what I love in my work. Is not the artistic challenge is cool, but what I love is the fact that I go and I meet people that I will never be able to meet.
Hi, this is May Barber. Welcome to The Creative Hustle. I'm very excited to kickstart the show with El Cid. I met El Cid the first time in 2013, and I immediately fell in love with his work and what it stands for. El Cid is a contemporary artist who transforms the work of philosophers and writers into beautiful installations and murals around the world, centered around messages of humanity and peace. I'm excited to be talking to him today about the intersection of art and entrepreneurship in his career, how he transitioned from something very different into art, and how he sustained this practice throughout the years, and some of the key lessons learned that he can share with our listeners. El Cid, welcome to The Creative Hustle.
Thank you, mate.
Okay, I want to start by testing your memory here.
Okay.
Do you remember when was the first time that we met?
Yeah, I do. I would say December 2013.
Oh, you remember the month as well. I remember the year, but not the month.
End of 2013 at Ahmed and Rashid bin Shabib pit fire Friday or Thursday evening thing.
Yes, the fireplace.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, the fireplace gathering.
And that's where I discovered the ginger and honey hot milk.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Was it yellow or did it have...
I don't know, it was at night. I know, I just remember
dark.
the taste. Yeah, so
It's true, the lighting is dim always at the fireplace.
Exactly. So that's the time, right?
Yes, that's the time. And we had something as well. We were eating as well. Do you remember the food?
Maybe like the lugma? No.
No, the little shawarma, the very mini shawarma.
Okay, so no.
Yeah, I think you went twice to the food, and I asked you to bring me an extra.
Okay. And you remember the drinks, yeah, the milk, the hot milk.
I know the story behind your name, but I know that perhaps some of our listeners don't know. So can you tell me the story of El Cid?
El Cid, actually, it's a name, like a kind of nickname that I picked when I was 16. Born and raised in France. We're taking some French class in high school, and we're studying a play called Le Cid from a writer called Corneille. And our teacher was telling us Le Cid come from the Arab word El Sayyid, which means the man, the master. And at this time I was starting graffiti. I didn't have like a graffiti name, we used to call that. And so I was like, yeah, I'm the man. So I just took it as, it was like from Le Cid, it became El Cid. And so I put the EL, not because of the Arabic, just because there was an artist called El Juan, was like a French originated from Spain, who used to sign El Juan. His name was Juan, but he used to sign El Juan. And I was a fan of his work. I'm still a fan of his work. And he was a kind of like, I want to be like him.
Yes, and you knew, because you know the Arabic word Al-Sayyid.
Yeah.
Did you know about the Sis Sayyid as a cultural kind of, because Sis Sayyid is very popular it's an Egyptian term that's very much about the alpha male. So not always in the most positive way. So, but the El Cid is very different. So to clarify, not related to Sis Sayyid.
And then I used to spell it like the play. The play was Le Cid, CID. And then I just add the S in front of it. And when I got into Arabic calligraphy, I changed it into SWED.
Okay. Yeah. And you studied something very different. And I must say, not as sexy as an art study. Was it supply chain management, if I'm not mistaken?
Yeah, exactly. I did 2 years of economy at university. Then I had a bachelor degree in marketing. And then I finished with a master in supply chain management.
Okay. And did you work in the field? Yeah,
I work as a supply chain manager in New York for 2 years for a French company specialized into natural extract. I was in charge of 4 warehouses, $10 million of raw material, and the whole logistic from the shipment to the client, and the logistic inside the factory, stock management, and it was production management. It was quite interesting, but not as cool as art. And then after that, I was a business consultant in supply chain management for a company in Montreal, and that's at this time that I switched from the 9 to 5 job to 24 hours job.
But what was the turning point of
the turning point was the birth of my daughter. So when my daughter, she was born, when I knew she was going to come to this world, I was like, okay, I need to focus. I need to really do what I want to do. And for me, it was a time to be with her. But بنقولوا كل طفل بيجي برزقه. So I believe in that. So I was like, okay. So everybody was telling me, you're crazy. You don't do that when you have a daughter. I mean, when you have a baby, you should like stick to what you have. And for me, it was the opposite. I was like, I don't see it like that. I really wanted to
spend more time.
Yeah, spend more time with her. And I felt, I always tell her, like, her name is Maya, and always tell her, like, I should have called you Baraka, like, because she really brought the Baraka, like every kid, come to this world. But here, she pushed me to make this step. And so I quit my job as a business consultant on November 4th, 2010. And then she was born on the 6th. She was born on the 6th in the morning. She was supposed to be born on the Friday 5th, but she was born on Saturday 6th.
Okay, and I must say, I love that date. November 4th is actually my birthday. So what what an amazing day for you. I mean, and it's interesting because normally, as you said, it's the other way around, because with the career security of art versus, supply chain management and consulting, it's a very different game. So, but do you feel this was more intuition?
Yeah, it was intuition, and also I'm always trying to go opposite to what everybody tells me. For example, the word security doesn't make any sense. Like you saw it like 5 years ago, COVID, people working for 15 years for the same company, and then they just get fired like that from day to tomorrow. So security doesn't make, I don't have like real value. I mean, of course, you work to be sure that you can stay safe and take care of your family and stuff. But, people, they rely too much on other people, to build themselves in a way. So I have like 2 hands, 1 brain. I'm like, okay, I'm young enough. Let me go do this. If it doesn't work, alhamdulillah, I have my background, as a business consultant. That's the security. The security is not the job. The security is the fact that I have this experience that I can sell to somebody else tomorrow. And I'm like, okay, maybe. And I've seen that I never thought that, I would be able to make a living of that. That was not the point. I never had this intention of living from my art. Today, alhamdulillah, it's a blessing. And I remember I felt, I really have like, I'm not jealous of people, but I think one day I got really jealous of somebody. I had like the group of people from my school. We had like this email chain where everybody was giving news. And this guy, like everybody was saying, oh, what you doing? And some guys was saying, oh, I got a job for this company. I'm doing this. And this guy was like, I was working in New York at this time, and I forgot the name of the guy. And he said, oh, I married this rich Russian businesswoman, and we're living in Paris, and I just focus on my art, so I have my studio. And
the dream.
He was saying this, and me, I was, painting on the side just for the fun, and I was like, wow. And I felt jealous, like when I was reading the stuff, I was like, damn. Sahadi had and then at the end I was like, no, that's a joke. I'm having like this stupid job for this company. And I remember this because he was not like hating on him, but I felt like I wish I had this.
Yes, this is the gut feeling that can push you.
Yeah, it was like, like sometimes you have like jealousy, or like you want something from you, but you don't want something for others.
Yes.
And why you have like, not the envy, but when you see something doing something and you're like, I wish I could have this too.
Actually, there's a word in Arabic for it, which is beautiful. And there's a difference between al-ghibta and al-ghira. Al-ghira is jealousy. Al-ghibta is wanting what that other person have, but without wishing that it gets removed.
Yeah, exactly. So that was exactly this. So I was like, there was this kind of jealousy.
So it's a positive jealousy.
Yeah, it's a positive jealousy. But then, like later on, I realized that this was a kind of trigger in my head, and I saw it. Even there's like few trigger in my life that show me that I was not in the right place.
And after, so you've embarked on art as a career. So you became a full-time artist, and of course you did projects around the world, and you are an entrepreneur. So how do you balance, let's say, this space between art and entrepreneurship? And perhaps what was the moment that you said, this is becoming financially viable to me? Maybe a project or a year where you felt, okay, this is secure enough.
So the time I decided to do this leap of faith of quitting my job as a consultant to focus into my art, it was not just like that. It was really well thought, because I started traveling. People asked me to come, commission mural, and people interested in my studio work. So I was like, wow,
What year was that?
It was 2000. First time I got a check, somebody paid me, was 2008.
And what was it? Was it like a commission, a painting, or
it was sometimes
a wall?
paintings. People used to pay me like $200, and I was like, wow, that's amazing, and and I used to spend like weeks, in the weekend to paint that. And the first time there was this guy from Chicago, he messaged me, he said, oh, we're doing this festival, we'd love to invite you to paint a mural. And I responded to him, okay, let me check the flight ticket, and I get back to you. And then he's like, no, I mean, we take care of the flight ticket.
We invite you.
I was like, oh, wow. And then I said, okay, can you tell me the address of the wall so I will check the hotel nearby? He's like, no, we're taking care of this too. So just give us the list of material you need to create your artwork, and we take care of the rest. So I was like, wow, this is crazy. So this guy is paying me a flight ticket and a hotel, and he's paying my material to do what I want to do. So I was like, this is amazing. So for me, that was never something
that was foreign concept at the time.
Like 2009, 10, that was not something. There was nobody around me that were doing this. And then a month later, somebody in Toronto invited me, same, but this time he asked me for a fee. So I assumed that the flight accommodation material was like already included. And then it was like, what's your fee? And I'm like, fee? So now you're paying me to do what I love to do. So that was never about the money, and that's what I say to people. I say, younger generation is like, do you love what you do? Are you passionate about this? So if you're passionate about something, like, the money will come after.
And was it difficult for you to price your work?
Yeah, totally. I didn't know. Like, I remember, like, the first time a collector from Chicago became like a really good friend and family friend. He messaged me, and he was with us like during the olive oil season recently. And I said, like, John, the funny thing is you're the first time to ask me to do a catalog. So I received an email from this guy. Please send me a catalog with work available. Catalog? So what are you talking? So I went Acrobat Reader, a picture of my work, and I placed them, and I'm like, okay, how much is that? I don't know. And I started like making not random price, but I just put some price. And
did you benchmark against other artists?
No, not at all. Like at this time, there was not like, we're not in the time of information that we have today. 2009, there was nobody. Like, you were doing your stuff on your own, and somebody was doing something on the other side of the world. You had like Facebook to communicate. Sometimes you meet a friend, you try to get together, and have a collector is interested in my work. You try to push your friend as well. And so it's not, I think there was like more room for you to develop your own identity in a certain way. I think today we're so crowded with so much stuff. So even when you want to do something creative, you always have a reference that you have to look at, not as starting something like in such an organic way.
Yes.
Not knowing where it will take you.
Yeah, raw and pure, and you follow that lead. And the transition to the murals, because of course you are known for an art form that blends Arabic calligraphy and graffiti, so what you call calligraffiti, that takes basically the words of philosophers, writers around the world, always around messages centered around humanity. But that takes different shapes and forms. So we're talking, you blow out scale out of proportion. It's no longer a painting on a canvas. It's now an entire wall, or it could be a sculpture. When did that transition, and how did that happen?
I started, the first wall I painted was in my neighborhood in Paris, so a small wall. And then I was always amazed by those artists who created large-scale mural. And El Juan was one of them with his crew, MAC in France. And I was like, how those guys do that? We used to buy those like magazine, like kind of hip-hop magazine. I remember this magazine called the Radical back in the days in France. And then there was like this part, with all the graffiti, like picture. And I used to see like MAC, they had like this crazy wall, and you see like picture of them like beside this like 4 or 5 story building, but huge. And I was like, how they do this? This is impossible. And I was amazed by that. So me, I started like with a wall that I could do like standing, and then I used to just use a ladder, then like this big 10-meter ladder. And then one opportunity came to do a huge piece in Tunisia. And
Was it
then
the minaret?
before the minaret, I had like a 40-meter long. That was the biggest I did at this time in 2011.
Okay.
And then the minaret was the highest I've done at this time. I'd never been this high. So even me, like, I was like, well, I need to do it to try at least once. And then like from this, it just started and I enjoy it. You know, it's, and that's funny because it's big, but it's a statement. It's not like people might think it's like a kind of, you know, a megalo, like I want to be seen, you know, but I believe when you create a big art piece, you really manage to catch the attention of people. And because there is a message and a story behind what I'm painting, I catch the attention with the aesthetic to tell the story that I want to tell.
Okay, beautiful. I want to talk a little bit about the role of patronage in the art world.
Yeah.
Now, patronage, Elcid, as you know, it's not new in this part of the world,
No.
especially when it comes to, you know, funding art and culture. Yeah. So if you go back to, you know, the Islamic Khalifas, for example, especially the Abbasids, so the Khulafa al-Abbasiyin, you know, they had Bayt al-Hikmah, so House of Wisdom, where they almost equated art to science because they were commissioning both. You know, the result was this amazing cultural and scientific capital of architectural monuments, to calligraphy works, to scientific inventions, etc. Today, this model has evolved, of course, because it's been diversified. So it's no longer only state-led, although this is huge in the GCC. But of course, there's now, you know, private collectors, institutions. How do you see the landscape of art patronage today, and how has it impacted your career?
You have like some patron, you know, like who are collectors, you know what I mean? Who support my work by getting art pieces. So I never go, like, for example, when I do a project, I have like this kind of system in my studio where part of the money that I do by a commission or by selling work in the galleries, part of this goes to in this kind of funds that allows me to go do and finance my own project, you know, so that's the way I do it. And then, for example, when I did Perception, the project in Egypt, it was big. So there was it was not only a project, there was a movie, a book after that. So there is a lot of cost involved. The project itself was financed through the sales of some artwork to like 6 collectors around the world.
But entirely self-funded. So this was you doing Perception on your own. Perception,
The movie was co-produced with Sultan Al-Qasimi, my friend, who have like the collection at Barjil Art Foundation.
Yes.
So Sultan, financed and co-produced the movie that, you know, like actually we're screening it. Yesterday was screened in Chicago, last week in Mumbai. It will be in El Ala on Friday. So that's always it. So there is always this involvement of not just, you know, like I give money and there's nothing in return, you know, like when financing my project is that. So I use part of the money that I make to go finance my stuff. So that's, for me, allows me to have this full freedom and integrity. So nobody can come and say like, oh, you do this, you talk about this, you make this. I'm like, no, you know, so it's, that's the way it was built. You know.
And how do you ensure that, you know, the murals and the artworks that you do around the world that are, you know, centered around humanity, around messages of inclusivity, how do you ensure the authenticity and that they don't become somewhat performative?
Because I feel it. You know, I feel it, and that's the way I go. So I don't, you know, like there's nobody who will come and tell me, okay, Elcid, you have to do this. So it's more like somebody come to me is like, okay, I would like to invite you to Toronto to do a project. And so I'm like, okay, this is what I want to do. And then we see if the budget that they have fits, or that's it, you know. But I don't like when people say, no, you do this. So I'm like, if you want me to do this, just call a decorator or somebody else. I mean, there's thousands of artists who do calligraphy, you know. So if you just need the calligraphy, I can give you names of my friend who will be happy to work with you. But me, I have like, my artistic approach is like mine, you know, like I try to make it my own. So it's not about calligraphy. That's why I say to people, the calligraphy is the medium, but that's not the core of the thing.
The core is the concept, right?
The core is the concept. The core is the message. The core is the artistic approach, and and the moment that the artwork creates. That's, I always say that I'm a collector of moments, and that's what I love in my work. Is not the artistic challenge is cool, but what I love is the fact that I go and I meet people that I will never be able to meet if it was in different circumstances, and that I'm still in touch with these people after years, and people that I don't even speak the same language. And that's the funny part. Sometimes I call people and I just smile and I know two words in that language, and we just say like, I show what I'm doing, I show my kids, I'm saying, I'm here, and this is it. And then we hang up, and then we send picture,
And
and
it's
that's
an
the cool
instant
part.
connection.
Yeah, and that's cool because I I love it. I think that's what I'm chasing. That's the fuel of what I do. So it's not yeah, but spending time in the studio, it's cool. As an artist now, there is this kind of fancy part as well. Like it's cool sometimes to be invited to nice events, but I think what is the best part is that this human connection that you can have, with people that you will never have if it wasn't because of art.
And the brief that you are given when it comes to conceiving an artwork or a mural. So, for example, you mentioned Toronto, so I suppose the mirrors of Babel or any other project. Do you have the control over the message, I suppose the artistic form, or how does it work? So, what does a brief look like to you, and then how do you interpret that?
If there's a commission, they approach me, I study. So there's a kind of really documentation about the place, the community. When it's a project, when somebody asks me to do a project.
And it has to be co-led with the community.
Yeah.
That's for you
like
a
pillar. Connected, yeah, otherwise there's no point. And then there's the other project, which are personal one, the one where I'm like, okay, I want to go there. So this is different. So when somebody called me...
Like what, for example? When did you feel like a wall calling or a city calling?
No, for example, there is places that I'm interested in that I look at online, and then I'm like, okay, I really need to go. So like now there is like 2 places I really want to travel. So I'm going to go hopefully in the next few weeks. I go,
Where?
I spend... I know I cannot say it.
Oh, okay. But, not even a little scoop for...
After I tell you, like off camera.
Do you remember, not necessarily from perception, but from any other project, whether perhaps the journey in Lebanon, any anecdote of a certain connection that you felt, or maybe a situation that changed completely, something that didn't start super positive but ended up being beautiful in some of these experiences?
I was in Lesbos to do a project, and someone told me, oh, you have to meet this woman, Bibi Zara. She's a 75-year-old woman who's an artist, And so I went to visit her. She has like a mobile home. And she made us tea for me and my team. And then she was taking out of under her bed, like sketchbook. She had a pile of sketchbook where she was drawing flowers. And she was telling me this flower reminds her of her garden in Afghanistan. And that's for her, it's a way to not forget, where she's from. Despite, like the travel, the journey, the obstacles and stuff. And then I say, okay, would you like to... let's do a collab together. So what do you mean? Like, let's paint a wall together. So she's like, okay, let's do it. So it was funny to see like this kind of 75-year-old woman coming and drawing a flower on the wall. And then I fill them up, with paint, with spray paint. And then she asked me to write in Farsi a phrase that says, Amid Behi Zindagi, which means hope for life. 3 weeks later, her son texted me, said like, hey, Fawzi, we get our paper for asylum in Germany. So we're leaving the camp. So they went to Germany. They settled in Düsseldorf, her 2 sons, mother, daughter-in-law, and grandkids. So we stayed in touch, and that's, for example, she called me sometime on FaceTime, and we have like this, non-conversation, or she gave me like 2-minute voice note, and then I've tried to find somebody who speaks French, and it's like, can you translate, And so she, we stay in touch, and then I invited her to Paris to make a lithograph, but she couldn't come to Paris because she was not allowed to travel out of Germany during the process of her paper. So we printed a lithograph of the wall we did together, and then we went to Düsseldorf, and so we had a lunch. It was funny, like, to meet her. Like, so we co-signed the lithograph, and we sold it. And the money, like, the benefits of the profit of it were shared between to me and her. And that's so funny because she was not expecting the money she would get. And she was like, she was really happy. And then we're still in touch. It was between the project and meeting her, it was a year. And now it's like 3 years after the project, still in touch. always calling, and that's, for me, that's the point of it. The wall, I forget about the wall we painted together. It was like this.
The human connections behind the wall.
And now like I'm involving her I'm asking her to do something for another project that I need her to sketch me stuff for something that's totally different of what people see me doing, but I'm involving her on another project. So we stay connected.
And I think that's a powerful example of building human connections, but also the power of art in giving access to the community. And you once said, and I believe this was when you were doing the journey, so your project with the Palestinian refugees, with women in south of Lebanon, in Ain al-Hilwa. You said, if I was not an artist, I wouldn't have had access. So do you feel that you are always welcome to these communities as a, let's say, relatively stranger, right? Do you feel, is it because of the art message, or is it because of what you bring to the table in terms of the joy, the length of your stay, perhaps the energy?
I think it's when you come as an artist, you're here to bring something. You're not here to take from people. If you come as let's say you're a businessman, you want to do something. So people say like, what's wrong with this guy? He's coming here. What does he want?
Or an NGO, or even or a media entity.
So you're coming to take from them. And like this kind of place, for example, the refugee camp of Ain al-Hilwa, or like Manshiat Nasser in Cairo, or even in Nepal. When I did this project with women, people, they look at you and they're like, okay, so why,
why are you really here?
Yeah, like it's sad to say that, but the world made us suspicious. When you see somebody coming from nowhere, what is he gaining?
And what interests you in this neighborhood that's not very,
and for
sophisticated?
Me, and for me, it's like the power of the story. What I'm interested in is it's the story of those people. And then I'm like, wow. For me to say today, I have friends in Nepal, and friend in Düsseldorf, friend in Brazil, and are really friends. I'm not saying we're speaking every day, but I care about those people. I care about the people that I met, and like we're always in touch. When somebody, for example, when the priest in Cairo passed away last year, people, they were sending me messages as if I lost my grandfather.
And the priest who allowed you to do the perception,
project,
right? You had his blessing to, let's say,
exactly.
So
it was interesting to see people texting me as if I was a member of the community. You know what I mean? I was like, wow. I received like so many messages from people from there. So they were letting me know as if, it is important for me, because this guy is like a major persona like in this project, because it's the one who allowed me to paint in the neighborhood. But this is all the stuff that people, when they see you, they always wonder like, okay, so this guy came from the other side of the world here and he's asking nothing from us. Okay, let's give him a chance. And so then they see like the ambience you bring and what you do, is it sincere or not? And then when you really try to, get involved with the community, so you don't say like, oh no, we don't do this, oh no, I don't drink this, I don't eat that,
Yes.
So you just accept. Me, Cairo at the beginning was quite difficult, because you're in the middle of the garbage. And then at the end, you finish, like after 1 month, you're like sitting on a pile of garbage, eating a sandwich, and and you realize it's about the perception that you have.
It's about blending in and truly becoming
you blend, and then you learn, like, so for example, before this project in Bangladesh, I was learning Bengali. So like now it's funny because I can pretend that I speak Bangladeshi when I don't.
For how many seconds?
No, I can.
Can you sustain 10 seconds?
I can say like, I can ask questions, and then when people respond to me, like I pretend, I'm like, I'm from there, and then people are surprised, Mostly when you're in this part of the world, you're like a taxi driver, or people that you can meet like directly. You spend a moment with them, and
because you have the exposure to
their
their culture,
so
and to the place.
You speak, and then like the guy is like, oh,
it's very interesting.
And I think that's the funny part, mostly when you make the effort of showing that, like the effort of learning something from them and showing that you're interested. And it happened when I did this project in between North and South Korea on the DMZ, when I found this poem from this North Korean poet who passed away before the separation. And when I told those people of South Korea that I used this poetry, they're like, wow, so how did you find this? And I'm like, actually, that's the joy of it. It took me a few months to find this poem, but I'm like, I got it. And when you do this, people, they accept you. They're like, marhaba, like, you're like us.
It's beautiful, this access and this human connections that become long-lasting, and of course the powerful statements that you leave behind, whether they stay or whether they become ephemeral as artworks. Besides your arts, I want to talk about your latest venture.
Mhm.
So it also has an element of taste in it,
Yeah.
just like art, but a lot more
Yeah,
taste.
different, yeah.
So Takape, your olive oil venture,
Yeah.
how did it all start? I know the story, but
Yeah, it
I would
started, you were there at the beginning in 2018.
I was there, but I would like
Yeah.
our audience to hear.
Yeah, so I'm from south of Tunisia, to a place called Gabes, and we had we have like lands. My family are farmers. In 2018, I took my kids, like during the school holiday in November. I said, look, well, you have only 1 week. Let's go to Tunisia. So we're gonna help your grandparents to harvest the olive.
November is the harvesting
Yeah,
season.
end of October, early November. That's where we start. Some people go all the way to Jan. So we went, and one of my cousin, who is a bit older than me, told me like, Fauzi, there is a land for sale. Let's go check it out if you want. Me, I was not interested, but I went and I found this beautiful land, a small parcel, a small piece with like 31 big olive trees, like centuries, years old trees. And so I was like, okay. So I asked the guy how much is it. He gave me the price. And then he asked me who's my dad. I give my dad's name. He's like, oh, those trees were planted by your great grandfather. I was like, wow, it's okay. So
So the land was calling.
yeah. So I bought it. I bought the land, and then we expanded, like different lands around. And my dad had this land not far away from there, so we certified his land into organic. So we make sure that they're certified organic. My cousin entered like this project. At the beginning, it was just like, let's work all together, like to create this kind of organic. I mean, all the trees in Tunisia are organic, but if you want to export your olive oil, you have to be certified.
Yes.
Like organic, if you sell it as organic. So we work on this, with the idea of selling the olive oil. I was like, okay, guys, we can make a business out of this. Let's try to make something that will improve the situation of the family there, but also show to the family that there is a capacity, there is a possibility of do something in a different way. And I told them, look, I'm not, me as an artist, and they say I'm garba sometimes, so like Majnun Shoy, and like we're gonna create a brand that bring art and olive oil together. And that's what we did. So we created a brand that is a collectible. So the bottle is a collectible. So you buy it this year, it won't come out next year, with my work in it. So that's the first one. And so I collaborated with myself, so with my own brand. And
makes sense as a first edition.
Yeah,
we're expecting a receipt
exactly.
bottle.
And then filled with extra virgin premium organic olive oil. So we really work both on the bottle and on the oil to create something that's quality, and so that's the idea of the project. And we launched the brand last year. And then it was amazing. It was beautiful, like the way people, they received it. And then the goal is to every year bring a new artist or two new artists, so that will have their work on the bottle.
El Cid, I would like to wrap up with a few quick questions.
Please, okay.
So first, I would like to ask you, if you were to choose any person, dead or alive, to collaborate with, does not necessarily have to be an artist, who would you choose and what would you create?
Wow. Abbas ibn Firnas.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay, I mean, the sense of curiosity, yes. So the man who wanted to fly.
Yeah. I want to understand his craziness, because he was not a young guy when he flew. I think it was more than 60. So I want to understand like the craziness in his mind.
What would you do you think?
I think I would do like another flying machine with him, Yeah.
I bet it would be a lot more colorful than what he had thought in mind.
I think, for me, it will be like, trying to understand, like collaborate will be not collaborating, will be like just being assisting him. Okay. So I'm your assistant.
So learning from him and hoping some of this curiosity might rub off a little bit.
Yeah. So I think he's a genius, and I'm sad like people don't know really about, not in the public doesn't really know about him, but I think he was a crazy man. When you hear the story of what he has done, like the planetarium that he created, that's insane.
That's interesting. And instead, with this thriving career of art, I would say maybe even activism, entrepreneurship, do you ever think of what's next? Like, where would you be when you're 60? What would you be doing, Sid, at 60? I hope that's quite far because I know you're young. So.
No, I mean, look,
And you don't have to declare your age.
No, I'm cool. I'm cool. No, I pray that I will still be able to do what I do. I'm not saying I'm still gonna do what I'm doing now. Maybe tomorrow I will be a carpenter, maybe a chef. I don't know. I just embrace the fact that, alhamdulillah, thank God, I'm privileged to do something that I love doing. And to be able, to find people like you who are interested for me to tell my story. So I think that's a blessing, and that's how I see it. So maybe at 60, maybe, I don't know, I will be opening a cafe, and I'll be sitting in my own cafe. Even if I don't have a client, I will just be in a cafe. I don't know.
Probably
Yeah.
some olive oil as well. And maybe the ginger with honey that you...
Yeah. Call it the bin shabib, yeah.
And to our listeners who are creative entrepreneurs, perhaps current supply chain managers who are thinking about switching or taking that leap of faith to a creative career. What piece of advice would you give them, or something perhaps that you wish that you had known before or early on in your life?
What's important to know first is it's not because you study something for 5 years that this has to be your life for 60 or 50 years. You know what I mean? And that everything you learn from your past experience will serve you later on. You know what I've done as a business consultant, as a supply chain manager, and all the other thing that I've done as a young kid working in Paris. Every job, every experience that I took helped me to in today's, help me in a business way, help me also in the way you deal with people. People, they forget that that's something you learn as well, how you deal with people. And me, I have this kind of diplomatic thing sometimes because I go to places and I need to convince people to let me do crazy stuff.
And you wear many hats as well.
Yeah. No, definitely. It's entrepreneur, it's artist, it's manager, confident sometimes, because you have a team and you have to make sure everybody's taking care, feel important in this, because I'm always in the front row. So the light is on me, so you need to also manage sometimes the sensitivity of everybody, making sure that their work is appreciated and valued. And so that's something that's important for me. But as an advice, it's knowing that you don't have to stick to one thing all your life, and knowing that what you learned yesterday will help you in something a new venture tomorrow. And nothing is fixed,
And nothing's clear.
No, but stuff are moving. You're doing something today, and you keep doing it. Maybe tomorrow you will find yourself in a place that you didn't know. So experiment, not only in creativity, but experiment, try new stuff, and then something will come out of this. And try to not take the fears of other people for you. We live in a time where people are so scared of doing a leap of faith. So when you want to do it, they will come and say, "Oh, don't do that." Did you think of this? Did you think of your daughter? That's why people are saying that to me. I'm like, yeah, I think of her. People will project their own fears because they're not capable. They don't have the courage to do what they really want to do. So they will project that on you. So don't allow the people's fear to get onto you. So just embrace and just jump. And like I said, God gave you 2 hands and a brain, and alhamdulillah, if you fail, you stand up and you build yourself again.
Great. Elcid, thank you very much for joining me today.
Thank you.
Shukran, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in. It's been a pleasure talking to Elcid. And now I'm certainly in the mood to have some freshly baked bread with a dip of olive oil. If you enjoyed the episode, do check out the work of Elcid. We'll put all the links in the show notes. And if you like this episode and want to hear more, stay tuned and follow us on Instagram, YouTube, and across all the handles.